This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel. I want to welcome you on this Veterans Day, transmitting live directly from my house. Hey! We had a wonderful morning today, and just wanted to let you know that, of course, our wonderful Facebook page still monitoring and censoring free voices, as it were. So hopefully this will get through and will be published soon through all the Facebook crowd. I just wanted to share with you something that I think is very important, especially after the Rabbinical Association of Greater Miami met today in trying to bring peace, as it were, to an otherwise unpeaceful group of Americans as a result of the fraudulent election. So the majority, obviously, of the Rabbinical Association happens to be on the left side of the spectrum, and to say the least, obviously, they want to bring and infuse peace among the congregants. By the way, this is also the issues that we have in the community, because, as we know, a great number of Jews voted towards the left instead of towards the right, with the exception of Florida. So kudos, South Florida, for being the difference in the election, making the election possible for Trump. One of the things that I got back from the feedback on many of the people that were there was that the sense of insecurity that exists because of Trump being the president. They were really relieved to hear that Biden was the president, even if the facts are of a rigged election. This is coming out to the light, and obviously our electoral processes are in question. And thus, one of the passages that they read, which was, I think it was a very important passage, including the Midrash on Exodus 23, verse 2, it says, "And you shall neither side with the mighty to do wrong, shall not give perverse testimony in a dispute so as to pervert it in favor of the mighty." No doubt about it that the mighty in this case is in reference to the Democratic Party, not the Trump Party, because obviously we've seen already in many of the cases how the left has been able to manipulate the voter registration and the voter count in particular, using different type of softwares in order to change the rules and show different results. Rashi makes a comment on this passage in Exodus 23, "Thou shalt not follow the many for evil." There are many halakhic interpretations for this verse given by the sages of Israel, but the wording of the text does not fit in well with them. They derive that from here we must not decide a person's guilt by the preponderance of one judge, like has been the case in most of the media, by the voice of the majority to do evil and to do wrong, to quiet down the voices of the minority. And this has taken place, my friends. In the end of the verse it explains, "Acharei rabim lechotot." But if the judges who declare the defendant guilty are two more than those who declare him innocent, then decide the matter as declare that he is guilty. Sanhedrin chapter 2, chapter 2a. The verse they point out speaks of capital cases. The middle of the passage of Lo Ta'ana al Rav, as they explain, as though it were written al Rav, "Thou shalt not speak against the chief of the justice," meaning that one should not give an opinion different than that was given by the Mapolal of the court, in the most eminent among judges, because this is disrespectful to the presiding judges. In consequence of this rule, we begin to take the view of those that in side benches first. We ask the youngest judges to express their opinion first, so that they may not be able to vote against the view expressed herein. And therefore the exegesis of the verse, according to the words of our rabbis, is as follows: "Thou shalt not follow a bare majority for evil, to sentence a man to death on the account of one judge, by whom those who are condemned condemn him are more in number than those who are acquit him. From this opinion they explain that the later phrase, thus, because the word, which is obviously or usually referred to as riv, is herein without, and therefore may be read as rav, the majority. And therefore it is, however, a majority to those who view thou must incline. When is this the case? When there are two whose preponderance among those who vote for condemnation over and above those who vote for the acquittal. For what is implied in this is that thou shalt not follow the bare majority in doing evil. And I may infer that thou shalt follow it for good. And hence the rabbis said, it established general rule in capital cases that we decide by majority, for one for acquittal, but one in the majority, at least two to condemn. Onkelos, interesting enough, translate the second phrase, do not refrain from reaching when you are being asked of your opinion in a legal matter. The Hebrew text is to explain according to the Targum as follows. If you are being asked of your opinion in legal matters, do not give your answer just to incline to one particular side, and so to withdraw yourself from the dispute, but decide the matter as truth requires. As truth requires. Such is the exposition that had been offered in this verse. And I think that if one wishes to explain the verse that everyone or everything should fit properly, its exegesis must be as follows. If you see the wicked men wrestling judgment, do not say, since there are so many, I will incline after them. Just the opposite. You have to fight against the majority or those who are doing evil. And what am I suggesting here? By what we're seeing in the media, what we're seeing in the complete mass movement of those that are trying to make a president without first being confirmed as such, especially in such a debate that's heatedly discussed regarding fraud in the voter process, which I believe there is a complete deep-seated distrust now as a result of this election and a lot of other mechanisms that were employed in different states throughout the nation, including Philadelphia. Now Georgia is recounting by hand, not by the algorithm that was being used in other states, and thus indicating that our system has been severely compromised to such an extent we cannot rely on the voting system as is, since they were basically such components as systems and softwares that they turned on the button to turn on the algorithms to be able to change the votes from Republican to Democrats, and that was seen in the late hours of the night. And thus we have that if a defendant asks you about the judgment, do not give him a reply concerning the disputes of any statement which will incline after the majority, thereby wresting judgment from the truth, but pronounce a decision just as should be, and let the collar hang around the neck of the majority. If you'll be outvoted, let them bear the responsibility. My friends, imagine way back when if they had used the algorithm that they've been using in this case. In the case with Trump and the false information that's been spread about. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have several other mediums, including now Fox, that has jumped onto the bandwagon and cutting off. Do you understand how disrespectful that Cavuto was in cutting off the press secretary of the current sitting president? That was beyond disrespect. I don't know how Fox has not fired Cavuto. As a matter of fact, I would call on the people to call Fox and ask that Cavuto be fired for his arrogance in cutting off the press secretary. This is completely intolerable. As far as I'm concerned, Fox has lost a lot with me. We looked at Fox as a major source. Now we don't trust Fox nor Cavuto. Cavuto's arrogance showed completely through the screen. One thing is if you have a bias and you learn how to be able to handle it. Cavuto's bias went right through the nose. And my friends, we don't have a true medium in the media. Neither ABC, neither CBS, neither NBC, especially not CNN. Any of these news reporting agencies are completely to be distrusted and to be questioned in every single report. And I'm including the Spanish stations as well, because NBC owns Telemundo. Question Telemundo to the very deepest of your existence. They're not to be trusted in any of their reporting. Same thing with Univision, especially Univision, whose Marxist and leftist ideology is completely and constantly being abated on television media. How much more so now that we're fighting for the very existence of the government, or this government's direction. Let me just share with you, those of you who are pro-Israel and pro-Jewish, especially you, thinking that for one moment a vote for Biden was really a very good thing to do. And I'm talking to some friends of mine who are Jews, who basically voted for Biden because they got hurt. Their emotions got hurt. Their feelings got hurt because Trump just didn't listen. My friends, those are emotional responses to the elections which you decided to do, and not based on logic or rationale. As a result of your vote towards Biden, already the Biden administration has begun to create the reversals of everything that Trump did for the Jews and for Israel. This includes going back to the table to negotiate Iran deal, which we all know was a major problem. That is just among one of the things that took place. There's much more other things that I'll be talking about in a few seconds. Shalom, shalom. Hello? Hello? Espera un momento.